the Eagle has a vision that is unsurpassed. And any leader in a Rotary organization, or a business, or a family, or a club, or a church, or a society needs unparalleled vision. Second, the eagle has a strong commitment. It is the only species of its kind that will fly on the face of a storm to get where it's intended to go. Most species will seek shelter when a storm comes up, but not the bald eagle. And I've seen them in Alaska, and maybe you have too, fly on the face of torrential storms to get where they intended to go, letting nothing defer them. Third, the eagle recognizes the need for change. And because the eagle undergoes a tremendous transformational change in its own life, after 40 human years, it lives for another 30 to 40 human years because it plucks new feathers, new talons, a new beak. It becomes a reborn bird. It's an amazing symbol of leadership. And on the pin that I presented to leaders all over the globe is a card that says, "Eagles are like leaders. One never sees them in a flock. They always soar high above the crowd. A commitment made and kept." It's my pleasure to make a couple of presentations today to our brand new president with his skirt. Angus, would you come up here, please? He's going to get pinned in one of my presidential ties. On the back it says, "Mankind is our business." These are woven silks, woven in Italy. I don't know whether a Scotsman will wear them to bed, but I do. So I'll follow you wherever you go. Thank you. President Germ asked me to present you with a shirt, polo shirt, that says "Rotary Serving Humanity." So Angus gets to wear this when he's wearing his pajamas to bed. Third, for your bedroom, here's a personal banner of the President. Thank you. Sir, Rotary Serving Humanity. Thank you. And fourth, let me present you with my Eagle presidential pin. Oh. And if you don't mind. I don't mind. I really don't care if it falls down your one. I don't. Yeah, I have to get this right, Mary. I don't want to be wrong. Our Eagle leader, Angus Coffey. 22 new members net over the last 2 years in this club is a significant achievement. We thank the leadership of this club for that kind of work. I thought you might like to know statistically just a few things, since this is an annual State of Rotary message that I usually give every once a year. As of the 31st of May, 1,235,669 people belong to Rotary clubs somewhere in the world. The net change from 1st July last, 26,178 growth. As of the 31st of May, there were 35,200 Rotary clubs in the world. New clubs chartered as of May 31st, as the report is of May 31st, last year we chartered 612, and normally we charter a bunch more toward the end of June, so we will probably have more than that by the time the June statistics are in. We did not add any new countries to Rotary last year. We're working in Cuba and in Vietnam, and we have some mild interest in restoring some clubs in the Middle East. I've been in many of those countries. I remember being in the capital of one Middle Eastern country where the president of the Rotary Club was a very proud Rotarian 3 decades earlier. But when his regime was overturned, they took him out into the center of the town square, and they executed him because they thought that Rotary was a treasonous organization. So we've had to go slow in moving Rotary countries in some places in the Middle East, but we're working on it. In the last few years, we added Myanmar, Burma, the Rotary Club of Yangon, admitted in May 2014. The Republic of Maldives, the Rotary Club of Malay, was admitted in February 2013. The Kingdom of Bhutan, the Rotary Club of Thimphu, was admitted in April 2012. And the Republic of Nauru, Rotary Club of Nauru, was admitted in August the 10th. Now, most of you know that in addition to the membership capital which we need to make Rotary work, we also need money capital. And so last year, we raised $100.1 million for the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation. We raised just under $22 million for Polio Plus. We raised $15 million for the endowment fund. We raised $13 million for other funds in the Rotary Foundation. The Donor Advisor Fund, we raised $14.3 million. For last year, a total of $163.7 million to the Rotary Foundation. And these contributions will increase once the June figures are tabulated and all of them are in. This year, we commemorate in Atlanta, Georgia, at our international convention next year, the 100th anniversary of the Rotary Foundation. So the trustees of the Rotary Foundation have set a remarkable goal to raise a total in all categories of $300 million for the Rotary Foundation this coming year. This is what we do in the work of Rotary. I've always been proud to be a Rotarian. Everybody comes to Rotary having a classification. That's a job, a profession, an occupation, or a vocation, or at least something that they did have when they were actively employed in their profession or vocation. For 52 years before I retired, I was a very shy, quiet, innocent, humble, sweet, lovable trial lawyer. And I really enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun. I remember the days when Dick McKay was young. And he was a trial lawyer too. And we had lots of fun in the Hayward courtroom. Those were the days. What is your date of birth, madam? July 15th. What year? Every year. How old is your son, the one who lives with you? Well, he's 38 or 35. I can't remember which. How long has he lived with you? 45 years. What was the first thing your husband said to you when he woke up that morning? He said, "Where am I, Kathy?" And why did that upset you? My name is Susan. Now, doctor, isn't it true that when a person dies in his sleep, he doesn't know about it until the next morning? I spent all night dreaming up that question. I like to sound as cerebral when I'm cross-examining physicians, Rakesh. I like to cross-examine doctors. I sort of feel that I'm getting even for a lot of prostate exams. Do you recall the time, doctor, that you examined the body? Yes, Mr. King, the autopsy started around 8:30 p.m. And Mr. Dennington was dead at the time. No, counsel, he was sitting on the table wondering what I was doing to him. Doctor, before you performed the autopsy, did you check for a pulse? No. Did you check for blood pressure? No. Did you check for breathing? No. Well, then it's possible that the patient was alive when you began the autopsy. One of my great Perry Mason moments. No. Well, how can you be so sure, doctor? Well, for one thing, his brain was sitting on my desk in a jar. But a good lawyer never stops with that. But doctor, couldn't he have been alive anyway? Yes, Mr. King, it's possible that he could have been alive and practicing law somewhere. And always, as I have traveled all around the world, it's always the people and the things that we do. I don't think I've ever really learned how to explain how my own life has been transformed and changed because a quiet educator came and consistently and persistently invited me to visit the Rotary Club. I was singing 3 shows a night in Las Vegas. I was building my law practice. I was busy on a lot of boards. I was single, so I was dating every young girl. I was doing a lot of church work. And this guy wanted me to visit the Rotary Club. And I thought, he's got to have a hole in his head. He doesn't know that I don't sleep now. But in your 20s, you think you're going to live forever. And I decided I could add the Rotary Club to my roster of events. It was a great little club. They had no idea what the attendance rules were. Their dues were $15 a year. And I remember in my touching induction ceremony, not like the ones Rick Hood does, I'll tell you that, or Chuck Canada, the president of the club stood up and said, "We tried to get a good lawyer, but they're all busy." And I was just a young lawyer starting out and said to Rick, we're happy to have you. Here's your dues. He gave me a bill for $15. Please pay them today. We need the money. And we know you're busy, so if you could just get here once every 3 months, we'll give you a perfect attendance pin at the end of the year. Once every 3 months, I thought, well, I can do that. And so I joined the Rotary Club. Of course, I didn't become a Rotarian. Not long after that, I was invited to go to Rome to do a television taping. I'd never been to Rome before. I'd never been anywhere other than California or Las Vegas. My mother came to the airport and she said, when you get to Rome, I want you to stay in a nice, safe, clean, cheap, first-class hotel. And I said, yes, Mother dear, that's what I'll do. I flew to Rome, landed Leonardo da Vinci, went to the hotel, and there was no room for me in the inn. I don't know whether they'd given it away, didn't have it, whatever the excuse was, but there was no room for me, and I thought, where am I going to go to find a nice, safe, clean, cheap, first-class hotel? I got in a taxi, and I'm driving down one of the grand boulevards of the world, the Via Veneto in Rome, and we came to a stoplight. And I looked to my left, and here was one of the world's grand hotels, the Excelsior of Rome. And underneath it, there was a rotary wheel. At least I thought it was a rotary wheel. And a little plaque underneath, and it said, the Rotary Club of Rome meets here today. And I'm just waiting for the traffic light to change. And I looked over at that, and I thought, Rotary Club. Rotary Club. I think I belong to that. I'm going in to make out. In those days, I got those terms mixed up on a regular basis. Make out, make up. I didn't know how you do that at a Rotary Club, but I thought I might as well go to Rome. 400 men, all men, of course, in those days, all old, white-haired, very distinguished, like this doctor over here, Godfrey. Very patrician, all wearing dark suits, not a woman in the place. And I sat down next to this aging, patrician, white-haired, distinguished Roman banker Rotarian. Now I'm still wearing my orange and brown plaid sport coat that I bought in Las Vegas. And he says, I see you're an American. And I said, yes, how did you know that? He said, I knew, and I'll bet you're from California. And I said, yes, I'm from California. How are you enjoying Rome? Well, I don't know the language. I don't know anything here. I've never been here before. And I can't find a hotel room. He smiled. Had to be 90 years old. And he said, just wait for me after the meeting's over and I'll find you a room. So the meeting was all in Italian, of course. Some guy with French bread in his armpits shoved a plate of spaghetti in front of me. And I sat there, and when they applauded, I applauded. When they cheered, I cheered. When they booed, I booed. Had my spaghetti, and when it was all over, this guy picked up my luggage down the steps, those of you who have been to the Excelsior in Rome, down the front steps, out to the biggest, blackest, longest limousine I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't know what you had to do to own a car like that, but I knew back home it was illegal. I got in this car, and he gets in beside me, and I smell the leather, color TV, music, champagne, and the whole works. And the lights, the locks go down, and I thought, Mamma mia. What's Mother going to say? I've only been in the country an hour, and I'm already connected somewhere with the mafia or something. We drove through the heart of Rome and wound up at the Michelangelo Hotel. And I looked at these Persian carpets all over the wall, Italian tapestries on the wall, and chandeliers and all of this stuff, and I said to my friend, I'm on a budget. He poo-pooed that idea, and it meant nothing to him. Takes me up to a suite of rooms, wooden shutters, and he opens the wooden shutters, and all of St. Peter's and the Vatican is right there in front of my eyes. And I thought, okay, I've got my very first brand new American Express card, and I'm going to take 10 years to pay this off. In that precise moment, now I'm 26, 27 years old, and I'll never forget it. And I'm in Rome, one of the great cities of the world. In walked the most beautiful young, long blonde hair, olive eyes, olive complexion, physically fit woman. I don't remember all the details about her, but I don't know who she is, but there goes the budget. My friend said, Rick, She is a student here at the University of Rome.